slide. So the discipline is defined as the practice of teaching another to obey rules or norms by using punishment to correct unwanted behavior. In the classroom, a teacher uses discipline to ensure routine is maintained, school rules are enforced, and the students are in a safe learning environment. Yeah, for example, of peer work and grouping work. Within the peer work, students can practice language together. They can take part information game activity. They write dialogues. They can work can simultaneously with other peers. So the group work, the student in groups can write a group story or they can role play a situation involving 4 or 5 students. Small group of around 4 or 5 students provoke creator involvement and participation than larger groups. Yeah, teacher, move to the next slide. This is different from discipline, which is just one of part of classroom management. Their discipline describe the consequence you give to students for not following the rules. Classroom management describe a more general set of predictions, most of which are aimed at avoiding problems rather than responding to them. Yes, this point we talk about the discipline. Discipline is means similar to control. So it means how to control the student in the class. So yes, this point we can practice it in the class to avoid any problem from environment learning, like for example, if we set the rule for them to avoid any problem, so they can work in peer or in the group, without any problem. Yeah, teacher. The next slide, I would like to invite Brother Sophia to do the presentation. Thank you, teacher, and everyone.
Yeah, thank you, sister. For my point is number 9. Why is the group context important in language learning classrooms? What are the predictable stages in the life of the group? So group contents have five points. For give students a lot of practice in using language. And second, opportunity to ask a lot of questions to our friends, because sometimes we may not dare to ask our teacher. And the third point is allow the quieter students to speak. It means that sometimes the students don't dare to speak. And the 4 points is there are plenty of changes to cooperate and negotiate with one another than. And the 5th, teachers students to have each other with the learning. So teacher and the students have each other. Another slide, sir. And for this slide, talk about predictable stages in the life of the group. So, Chapman, 1955. We have forming, storming, norming, performing, morning, adjourning. And for Hatfield, 1992. Have 3, have 4, forming, maintaining, disbanding. Translation. And for number 10, what are the characteristics of each? Stage 1, forming. First meeting of the development teams. Following methods are discussed during first meetings advised. So we have 6 points to explanation. The first, personal introductions of all teams members, including skills, expertise, area interest, experience, achievements. And 2, project goals. And 3, rules and responsibilities. And 4, group norms, working procedures for working together. And 5, project deadline. And 6, team leader provide directions or guidelines. Finish for my point. I would like to invite Mr. Surya to continue the slide. Thank you. Hello, brother Surya.
Hello, brother Sophia. This slide and the first slide for me. Yeah, and
Oh, all right.
yeah. And number 10, we talk about the characteristic of the line of group. The first, Mr. Sophia already present, and I go to the stage 2. Teacher, can you move to the Stage 2, we talk about storming. In this stage, if we talk about students have other opinion. They have different opinions. So in this stage, student say about their opinion and talk and discuss about the different opinion in the group. So in this stage, students are very difficult to decision about what the main point of the group discussion. So in this storming, student and teacher, especially teacher, teacher always help student in this stage, because this stage student, if we separate student into 4 or 5 in a group, teacher must help them in this stage, because they are very difficult to decision. And the next teacher. In this slide, I would like invite Miss Chai Niang to present.
Thank you, Rax. Hello, teachers. Stage 3 norming. One of the interaction and introduction is completed, and roles and responsibilities of each and every team member is properly conveyed and understand. Team development process move to the next step, which is norming. Team members' morale is high and they are eager to work together to achieve common goals. Trust and motivate develop among team members. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Mr. Onsampao.
Yes, thank you, Chaniang. Okay, good morning, teacher and everyone. Like my team member have mentioned some point about first step is about forming, storming, norming, and after that is about performing stage. My performing stage is the most important stage of team development. Performing stage of team development is the stage which takes most of the time of the project. In this stage, team members start work on their designated tasks and they interact with each other as and when needed. Projects are usually complex in nature and team members may face many handle while executing their tasks. Project manager should help team member to mitigate difficulty faced by any team members. By the end of this stage, tangible product is produced. Like you see that in this stage is very important stage of the team development. Mean team members and project managers must prepare and well done for performing of the stage and on and to perform about their test. And move to next slide, teacher. Yes, this one is about adjoining stage. Adjoining stage is the fifth and the last stage of team development. Team members adjourn after completion of the project and join the previous department again. They adjourn with positive note and share their handles and lesson learned with other team members. A formal close-up meeting is scheduled by project manager and appreciate team members' work. Like you see that this one is the last stage of the team development. Mean about this one, they just post John with just a positive note and share they handle and lesson with another in the group or in the team. Just finish about my slide, and I would like to invite Mr. Soya. The next slide.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sampao. Good afternoon, teacher, and good afternoon, our classmate and our group member. I will respond the last question of our groups. The question is that, question 11, what can a teacher do to build a good groups, and describe it. 3 activity aims to improving groups dynamics. And group work is really popular in teaching language, especially in using teachers student-centered approach, and it's very popular around the world, especially in the country that has standards education. But anyway, some teachers still have a problem and find out some difficulty using group work in a class. And sometimes he do not prefer using the group work because he thinks or she thinks that it takes time and it's noisy. Anyway, I have some ideas that will have some teacher as well as the classmate to prepare a good group work in the class. First of all, teacher must give a lot of role play activity or project work in the class. Yes, and every teacher will find it's difficult at the first time they apply group work or any project work in the class, because that is the first time. So the student might not be familiar with this activity. So exactly, it must be really, really difficult at first. But later, after you apply using group works a lot in the class, you will learn the weakness and the strengths of your students. So you will prepare the techniques and organizing to a group student. Like some teacher has different techniques in order to group student immediately after he wants student to go into group. Like I usually use in the class counting number. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So group 1 go with group 1, 2 with 2. Or sometimes we use other technique like ask the student who has the same birth month. So who has the same birth month? Let's go together. So this is the technique to group student. So it's very important. If you don't know techniques or to arrange student into group, it might take time. Some teacher might group the student by their height. So student who has the same height, let's go together. Or some who sit together just face to each other, and then we got the groups. Next, what teacher should have to build a good group is to have a clear instruction, a short instruction, and meaningful instruction. It's really, really important when the teacher give a clear and short and meaningful important, because it helps the student in the groups or the group's member to understand what to do and what to write and what to respond after group work. So it's very important. The next point is to reinforce the instruction on the board. It's not only speak. Some students might not listen to the teacher clearly, or there might be any disturbance that cause the student attention. So teacher have to write some of the instruction on the board, like take note, after take note, have a short presentation, or ask each other like that. So what the teachers should do next is monitor, look, listen, and take notes. While the groups working, the teacher is not standing in the middle of the class. Because when the teacher stand in the middle of the class, most of the member of the group will focus only the teacher. So teacher should find other way, like to walk around the class to ask the student whether they have question to ask or whether to they got something they don't know, so the teacher can tell them. And while asking the student, teacher might have some notes and note down what's the weakness of the student or the strengths of the student. Then he will do something else after the group works. One more thing is really important to process the good group work is that to give responsibility to the group's member. So it's very important for the teacher to get students to choose the member to be a leader, a presenter, or monitor, or secretary, so that the student in the group know what they do, not just group and then listen to a short instruction and then it doesn't work. One more is to give feedback. So every time after group works, it's very important to give feedback corally in a class, as a whole class corally, or individually. Some student might have a serious discipline, so we might not correct them in the whole class, because those students might get ashamed or embarrassed, so they don't want to go into group work anymore. So teacher have to deal with them in personally, face to face. But some problem that generally happen in class, teacher might have to give them feedback as a whole class. And the last one, this techniques is should be used in practice and production state only, because students can produce their personal opinion and their common sense. And next. All right, the last point is also important, is to demonstrate for the group work. Yeah, after giving a student instruction, to check that student understand, but usually it's not appropriate when you ask the student, do you understand, everyone? To check understand, we don't ask them, do you understand? But besides asking them like this, we demonstrate whether the student understand or not. Okay, so we demonstrate, we get one peer to model what they do in the groups. Continue to another one. Yes, however, there are some other main important things that the teacher must be aware of before having their group work or group project. One important thing is that to know your students. To know your student is very important, because you know that you know your student preference, what they like, what they enjoy. One more, it's very important to plan a good planning lesson. So making or applying group work is require a very careful planning, because if you don't plan well, the group work won't work well, and it will take time, and you might not finish a group discussion or any group work in a single hour. Be fair. It's very important to be fair to the class, not only the stronger student or not only the active one, but be fair to every student. Show respect for the student. It's very important to show the respect to the student. It's not that only you are the teacher and you don't show the respect to them. Showing the respect by telling, by asking, by calling the name of the student, by saying thank you or praise them, or listen to their speech. It's very important to show the respect when they speak, so you listen. Clearly define the boundaries of behavior. This is also very important. This in this point, it defines the role of the teacher or the limit or the right or responsibility of the teacher. So what you should do in the class. So you are the teacher, you have to do your teacher's work. We have a motivation. Yeah, this is also very important. The point is that you know how to deal with the student who has a negative attitude or miss task. So you know how to deal with those students. You know if you deal with them, but it doesn't work. So who will you talk to? You talk to the principal, you talk to the parent, or who? Be professionalism. Being a teacher, you have to be a modeler. So good dress, well dressed, be punctual, well prepared. Those are your work. Class techniques. Yeah, using eye contact, standing in a place where your student can see, not only sitting in a table, is also effective in using group work. Teacher's role. This is very important. When you know your role, like when you know your role, you know what to do. So you know what to deal in the class. And sometimes the student need the teacher that is friendly to them. So here your teacher's role is to be their to be friendly but not their friend. Okay. Let's come to another one, teacher. So these are some examples of activity that ends dynamic. Those are storytelling, debating, could be a role play, as like to be a character in a story, or could be a brainstorming. So everyone express the idea. So while everyone express the idea, one student take note. That is called secretary. And one student will be the presenter, so he or she will be present to the class. So this is the some activity that aims group dynamic. And group project is also a good one. Group project, so we can give a group project for a long term, but not only 1 or 2 hours. It could be 3 weeks or 1 week. This is the group project. Thank you, teacher. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, group 3. Thank you for your detailed presentation. So, okay, this is just for unit 4, right? Classroom, related to classroom management. So I hope everyone, you can send all the slides from the 3 group into the group, Telegram group, and then I think everyone can get all the slide. So I mean that from your group discussion can give more detail or can get more information briefly from the unit chapter 4 or unit 4 related to classroom management. And so in the next week, I think we still have class on. I'm not sure whether we still have class or not, or we. Do you know when we have a holiday? What day? What is it?
I don't know.
We have we have a holiday.
Let's say school from 6, teacher.
From 6. But in our university, whether they inform you what is the exact days we start to have the holiday?
No, they haven't informed.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Just wait and see. Okay, thank you everyone. So I think that's all now. So see you next week or maybe next year.
Oh, next New Year.
Next New Year, teacher.
Because after New Year,
Year.
after Khmer New Year, it will be the next year, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Bye,
you.
teacher. See you. Good luck.
Yes, bye.
Bye,
Luck for the
teacher.
Goodbye,
year.
teacher.